You're with Johnny Vedmore on today's News Talk, TNT.
I'm here with Kaan Disli, and we're talking about the regional instability and politics within the Middle East currently, with these conflicts all sparking off and with all of this drama happening. I'm really happy you could join me, Kaan. Were you surprised? I'm sure you would, but I'll ask you anyway. Were you surprised to see the US Senate finally passed a foreign aid bill, which is due to assist Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, while also subversively banning TikTok? Were you surprised that happened?
Actually, I was not because it is quite clear that the powerful lobby groups in the United States are not very happy with TikTok. They want to provide aid. I believe it was $61 billion of aid towards Ukraine, military aid. And it seems like, to me at least, that there isn't even enough qualified personnel in Ukraine to benefit from this military aid, even though Zelensky is still asking for the aid. I don't see anytime soon a Ukrainian counter-offensive happening. I don't think Russia is going to lose the territory it possesses currently. And, well, it's just, in the large scheme of things, it's just a waste of money. But when it comes to the TikTok ban, obviously, I think many people that use social media have recognized that TikTok, as opposed to Meta, YouTube, and Facebook is Meta now, but they are very pro-Palestinian. The content, at least, is very pro-Palestinian because TikTok is obviously owned by China. In Facebook and in YouTube, you don't really see that much pro-Palestinian content, and the youth are definitely using TikTok, and the youth are really anti-Israel. That's I think what most people have realized. And there was a leaked conversation between the head of the ADL, Jonathan Greenblatt, and someone, I don't know who he was talking to, but he was basically saying that TikTok is very dangerous because it is really affecting the youth to be more pro-Palestine as opposed to pro-Israel. And an example of these tech companies cooperating with Israel, it just came out very recently. It was published in the 972 magazine. Israel uses an artificial intelligence called Lavender, and this artificial intelligence is being used to detect Hamas members in Gaza. One problem with this is that the information that comes as input to this AI program is also coming from Meta, because if I remember correctly, it is Meta that owns WhatsApp, but the tech giants are providing personal details to this Israeli AI program. And that's how, for example, if you're in a WhatsApp group with a Hamas member, it means that you will be on, it is likely that you will be on a kill list of the IDF. So, and this can only be done, this type of kill list can only be created because, well, WhatsApp is able to provide personal details to these organizations.
Completely unbelievable, isn't it? We've got to that stage. Now, we were talking, move off track a little bit. We've done a lot of work ourselves on Ukraine. How do you see that conflict eventually playing out, do you think?
Well, I don't think anyone on the planet right now knows when the war is going to end. It seems like Putin wants a long war of attrition. And I know many experts have claimed, well, it's going to end. They've claimed certain dates where the conflict is going to end. But I don't think anyone on the planet, except for Putin, knows when the war is going to actually end. Ukraine is not winning its territory back anytime soon. And the US, in some sense, already got what they wanted, which means the US does not care how many people have died in the Ukrainian war. What they wanted since the beginning is to deprecate the Russian army so that the US continues to have a strategic military advantage over Russia. And in some sense, they have succeeded because obviously Russia has spent many resources trying to beat Ukraine. But in another sense, they have not successfully won in Ukraine. So I think they would have wanted Russia to lose even more. And the attention right now is kind of moving away from Kiev and it's moving towards Israel in the Gaza conflict.
So, what did you make of the Iranian missile strikes on Israel in response to Israel attacking the Iranian consulate in Syria?
Well, that was very interesting because we've been waiting for this attack. Iran has announced that they were going to attack Israel at least a week prior. And this was, I guess, the last straw after a series of provocative Israeli attacks on Iranian proxies and Iran itself. Obviously, the attack in Damascus killed many senior officials of the IRGC, and Israel has also bombed the Iranian gas pipelines. They've attacked Iran. At least claims that Israel was behind the Kerman attack, where the funeral of Qasem Soleimani was taking place. At least 100 people were killed. So Iran at least had to respond, had to show deterrence, at least that yes, we can strike you as well. Yes, you can strike us, but we can strike you as well. And they at least struck 3 bases: the Nevatim Air Base and the Ramon Air Base in the Negev Desert, and they struck the quite secret military base in the Golan Heights as well. We don't hear much about that. And they were able to penetrate the highly sophisticated Israeli air defense systems, which was very interesting. Some military experts have pointed out that the Nevatim Air Base, at least, is one of the most highly protected air bases in the world. It is protected by David Sling, the Iron Dome, Arrow 2, and NATO X-band radars. So the fact that with ballistic missiles, Iran was able to penetrate and at least hit the base, and Iran claims that it destroyed a couple F-35s in the Nevatim Air Base. This does show Israel at least that yes, your air base is not, we can penetrate your air base as well. And Israel decided to respond, but the response was very weak, which I don't think I don't think anyone on the planet knows why the response was the way it was. And if people don't know, it was in the Isfahan nuclear center that Israel tried to attack. And that's an Iranian nuclear site. And Israel has repeatedly said, if Iran responds to us, we will bomb your nuclear sites. And the response was very weak. It seems like the missiles shot by Israel were actually exploded over Iraq, because there were missile parts that were found in Iraq. But to talk about the broader point, I would like to present at least a Sunni perspective that most people have been trying to bring to the table, where they claim that the Iranian and the Israeli conflict is actually a fake conflict. And this is very similar to another Western perspective. I've seen many people in the United States claim that the United States is funding both sides of the war, and they're funding both Iran and Israel. And to me, this doesn't seem very accurate factually, because it seems like the United States is only providing a security guarantee to Israel and not Iran at all. And many people I've talked to and I've seen have said that Iran actually is not in conflict with Israel, that this is a fake conflict to improve their recognition in the Islamic world. Even though it is true that this will improve their recognition in the Islamic world, I do agree with that. This doesn't mean there isn't a real conflict. Of course, the past 20 years, Iran has been the biggest security threat to Israel. They've funded proxies, they funded Hezbollah, they funded the Houthis that shoot rockets at Israel all the time. So, and their Iranian generals are being killed. So to me, this just seems like a real conflict. There's no reason why there should be a fake conflict, and there's no reason why Israel would benefit from this fake conflict. And all of the think tanks, the Israeli think tanks that report on what is the #1 security threat to Israel, the answer is always Iran.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially when you go back in history. When I hear people saying about how evil Iran has been since the Islamic Revolution, I seem to think, well, it must be true because of the Iran-Contra affair and the October surprise during 1980, the Iranians actually helped put George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan into power and in America, and that is pretty evil for sure. So I definitely think that they play both sides, and they're not the people to be trusted a lot of the time. But yeah, I mean, when you were talking about the Golan Heights there, Syria seems to have become a forgotten force in the region. Do you think they'll be drawn into conflict with Israel at all, or are their forces completely depleted by the war that they've already just got through now?
Well, I think you're correct. I think they have been depleted. I don't think Syria has enough forces to take the Golan Heights back anytime soon. It's occupied by Israeli forces. What Syria's goal, or at least strategic importance, has always been is they provide logistical support towards Hezbollah because they share a border with Lebanon, and it's Iran that helps the Assad regime do this. Syria itself doesn't really have that much importance because their military is very weak. They could not possibly compete with Israel, but it's the support to Hezbollah, which borders Israel, is why they're important.
This is Johnny Vedmore on today's News Talk. TNT.